Here's what I want to know. When you decided to do a law degree and ultimately enter the legal profession, what precisely did you think was going to happen next? I mean, did you think that being a lawyer was going to be easy? Did you think it was going to be stress-free? Did you think that you weren't going to have to work long hours? Do you think that as a lawyer over a few years you can start to get paid a significant amount of money and have that not be accompanied by some of the things that seem to apparently have become things that we're not prepared to put up with anymore? Here's my big message for today. Law is hard. Deal with it. My name's Chris Hargraves, and after that super encouraging introduction, you can find slightly more encouraging things at tipsforlawyers.com, but we are talking about the nature of the legal profession, and in particular, I just wanted to throw out there the idea that actually being a lawyer is hard. Okay, I know, and I am not insensitive to the fact that in some cases it is harder than it needs to be. There are certainly some places to work that are horror stories. There are certainly some people to work for who are horror stories. And there are certainly bad things that happen that ought not happen. However, even if we were to fix somehow miraculously the human condition that results in those things occurring, law would still be hard. Okay, you did not choose an easy profession. You did not choose a profession that is not going to tax you intellectually and emotionally every day and every week and every month that you continue to be in that profession. And so, yes, I appreciate that this little recording now is a little bit more ranty than I have been from time to time. However, we need to deal with the fact that law is hard. Being a lawyer is difficult. It comes with a certain amount of attendant pressure. And that is not going away. Why is that not going away? The first reason it's not going away is because the law is really complicated. It is intellectually difficult to get your head around. You have difficult problems to solve. You have difficult decisions to make. You have challenging recommendations to reach. And that is going to tax you. It is hard work. It takes time. You need to learn from people, and you need to sometimes make a call even when you don't necessarily have your grip on all of the issues associated with what you need to deal with. In particular, as a young lawyer, you have an enormous amount to learn very, very quickly. That's not going to come easily. It's going to come at a cost of your time, and it's going to come at a cost of your investment. That is what you signed up for. And if you signed up for it unwittingly, then you should have done your research better. And if you don't like what that has, then you should leave, because that isn't going away anytime soon. Law is hard. It's complicated. There's lots of laws. There's lots of things to read. There's lots of things you don't know. There's lots of things to understand. That's never going to change. It hasn't changed for me. It hasn't changed for any good lawyer that I know who is still learning how to practice, practicing how to practice, I guess, if we were to put it in another way. So it's complicated. It's intellectually complicated. The next thing is that it's high stakes. Not for you necessarily, but it's almost inevitably high stakes for your client. Even what might be considered the simplest legal work in doing mum and dad sort of household conveyancing. That is the biggest investment that most people are going to make in their life, to buy a house. And you're going to charge $300 or whatever to do that task, but it is high stakes for them. If you stuff it because you decided to go home instead of send a confirmation of finance, and the other party decides to terminate the contract and your people can't buy their house anymore, then you are going to suffer the consequences for that, not just in terms of your insurer having to deal with something, but in terms of your personal failure. That risk of personal failure does take a toll because it is high stakes. And at all times, and it is inescapable, unless you're some inhuman sort of sociopath, it is inescapable that there will be that pressure upon you, that real people are impacted upon by your decisions. And sometimes they're impacted upon very seriously by your competency, by your work ethic, by your ability to do the job that you've promised them you're going to do, or that someone else has promised them is going to be done on your behalf, and you get saddled with it as a junior lawyer, the promises that someone else has made. And that is not easy. That is difficult. And it is high stakes for people. Perhaps they go to jail. Perhaps they run the risk of abuse. Perhaps they lose their job or not. Perhaps a contract gets terminated or not. Perhaps someone can reclaim their damages or not. Perhaps their business goes under or not. These are not little things. These are huge things. And you deal with them every day of every week for every month of every year of your career. It is high stakes. And the third thing that's not going away anytime soon is that it's high pressure. Sometimes things need to be done faster than you can possibly do them. And that is a difficult riddle to solve, to get a contract out the door in an hour when you've had no time because a client needs it. To prepare for a hearing because a judge decided to call it on that night or next week because the parties said they were ready for trial, even though they anticipated it wouldn't be for 6 months. And he says, right, I'm free next week. Or she says, okay, let's do it tonight. It's high pressure. Sometimes things don't go according to plan. Sometimes the timeframes get crunched on you. Sometimes you need to rally the troops back at the office and everyone needs to go and get a few shots of coffee and they need to actually work those longer hours that might be required. High stakes, high pressure, high complexity. These things are not going away. You see, friends and colleagues, we are a service profession. We serve other people and we serve them in an important way that most people don't understand how difficult and complicated it is. And we bear a lot of the burden that they might otherwise have. We shoulder a lot of the stress they have. Part of our job is to take that stress of our clients. Now, some people will disagree with that, saying that's not part of our job, but I don't see how you can possibly be in this profession and avoid that. If you care about your clients, and you will, if you haven't already, you might not like all of them, but you will care about the outcomes that you achieve, if only out of pure self-interest for your professional reputation. But more often than not, you will also care about your clients. You want to see them succeed in whatever it is you're helping them with. You want a good outcome for them. You don't want a bad outcome from them, and you can't be indifferent to the outcome that they suffer, and that's going to take a toll on you. And so my question for you is, are you prepared for that? Or are you hoping that the system is somehow going to magically change around you, that humanity will become a different creature, that you'll be able to serve them in some different way where you get to take all of the glory and none of the responsibility and none of the stress? The question is, how do you deal with these things? How are you developing your character and your integrity and your stress response to deal with these situations in a way that doesn't have you melting into a puddle and doesn't cause you long-term damage? That's the question. The question isn't, how can I fix this broken system? That might be the question for some people, but that's a big mountain to climb. The better question is, how can you deal with you so that you have the longevity you need in order to get through this profession, not just intact, but in a positive, thriving way? You cannot change, most likely, those things that are going to happen. Those stresses, those difficulties, those challenges, they are outside your ability to influence. What you can change is the meaning you ascribe to them and how you are equipping yourself to deal with them, how you are building yourself up. I'm trying not to use the word resilience because it's too much of a buzzword, but that's kind of what it is. How are you dealing with these things? Stress is not bad. Complexity is not bad. Even pressure, high pressure, is not bad. These are not inherently bad things. They can become bad depending on our response to them and how long they last, and our managing systems and our coping mechanisms. How do we filter that information? How we deal with that response? What do we do about it? How do we train ourselves? That's the better question to ask. Law is hard, so deal with it, and deal with it in a positive way. What are you doing to invest in that personal growth? What are you doing to actually equip yourself for this profession? If you're hoping you're just going to wing it, then there's a good chance you're going to become a statistic. And I don't want that for you, and hopefully you don't want that for yourself. After that encouraging message, I am signing off for today. I realise that was a bit rantier than usual, but it's an important issue. Everyone wants to fix the legal profession, but it starts with you. I'll see you next time.